The worst food for your heart, worse than salt. You've probably heard that salt is a major villain when it comes to heart disease. But what if I told you there's an even more dangerous food? It's lurking in your kitchen or hiding in your fridge and you're eager to snack on it. You consume it without realizing that it might be silently destroying your health. This food is responsible for raising your blood pressure, clogging your arteries and inflaming your body, making your heart weaker every day. Science has proven it, and worse, there's a long list of foods that you consume a lot which are ruining your heart. 13 foods in total, and one of them is the worst of all. But can you spot this danger before it's too late? If you want to protect your heart and avoid a future filled with health problems, you need to watch this video to the end, because today I'm going to reveal what the worst foods for the heart are, according to science, and which one might be shortening your days without you realizing. Most importantly, I will reveal the worst food for your heart at the end. So pay attention, because this information could change your diet and save your health. Come with me. Number 13. Sodas and sugary drinks. If you think refined sugar is dangerous, imagine consuming it in liquid form and in large quantities. Sodas and sugary drinks are one of other artificial sweeteners that overload the body. Unlike solid foods, these drinks are quickly absorbed by the body, causing intense glycemic spikes that increase insulin resistance and promote abdominal fat accumulation. Fructose, one of the main sweeteners present in these products, is processed exclusively by the liver. When consumed in excess, it can lead to the accumulation of fat, which increases the risk of developing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This accumulation impairs liver function and interferes with cholesterol metabolism, raising the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Moreover, frequent consumption of sugary drinks is directly linked to obesity, one of most dangerous risk factors for heart. Studies show that drinking sodas regularly can increase the risk of heart attacks and strokes, even in people who are not obese. This happens because these drinks promote inflammation, increase blood pressure, and impair the elasticity of blood vessels. Even the sugar-free or diet versions are not safe, as they contain artificial sweeteners that can cause insulin resistance and negatively impact the intestinal microbiota, which also affects cardiovascular health. Besides sodas, sports drinks, industrialized juices, and sweetened teas are also loaded with sugars and harmful substances. Many people believe that ox juices are healthy alternatives, but the truth is that they contain almost as much sugar as a soda. This continuous intake of liquid glucose forces the heart to work harder, while the body tries to process the excess sugar and stabilize insulin levels in the blood. The best way to protect your heart is to cut these drinks from your routine. Replace them with healthier options, such as sparkling water with lemon, natural teas, or fresh fruit juices without added sugar. Number 12. Hydrogenated vegetable oils. If you use margarine, eat industrially produced cookies, or consume foods fried in restaurants, it's very likely that you are ingesting hydrogenated vegetable oils without knowing. These oils undergo a chemical process called hydrogenation, which transforms them into trans fats, one of the biggest enemies of cardiovascular health. These fats are known to increase bad cholesterol and reduce the good one, promoting the formation of plaques in arteries. Continuous intake of trans fats leads to the inflammation of blood vessels, making them more rigid and complicating the circulation of blood. This overloads the heart, increasing the risk of hypertension, heart attack, and stroke. The World Health Organization has already warned that there are no safe levels of trans fats consumption and recommends their total elimination from the diet to prevent millions of deaths caused by cardiovascular diseases each year. One of the problems with hydrogenated vegetable oils is that they are present in various ultra-processed foods. Stuffed cookies, snacks, industrialized ice creams, and even some supermarket breads may contain hidden trans fats. The big danger is that many of these products are sold as trans fat-free, but in reality, they use small amounts allowed by legislation, which accumulated throughout the day can be highly harmful. Refined oils such as soy, canola, and corn oil are also concerning. Even when they are not hydrogenated, these oils are extracted from genetically modified seeds and undergo industrial processes that make them unstable when heated. This means that when frying foods with these oils, they transform into toxic substances that promote inflammation in the body. This continuous inflammation is one of the main causes of atherosclerosis and other heart diseases. The solution to avoid the damages of hydrogenated vegetable oils is to replace them with healthier options. Extra virgin olive oil and coconut oil are natural alternatives that do not cause inflammation and can even bring benefits to heart health. And keep watching because the worst food for your heart will be revealed later in this video, and there are several other harmful foods for your heart to discover before we get there. Number 11. Fried foods. Many people believe that the biggest problem with fried foods is the excess salt, but the truth is that the danger goes much beyond that. Fried foods contain large amounts of saturated and trans fats, which compromise the health of the arteries and drastically increase the risk of heart diseases. The biggest problem is not just what you fry, but how you fry it. Superheated oil generates toxic compounds that cause inflammation and accelerates cellular aging. Restaurants and fast food chains often reuse the same oils several times, which causes it to lose completely its nutritional properties and turn into a real poison for the body. Frequent consumption of fried foods increases the levels of LDL cholesterol and triglycerides in the blood, promoting the accumulation of fat, risk of heart attacks, and strokes. Besides, fried foods are highly caloric and poor in nutrients, which favors weight gain and the development of metabolic syndrome. This condition is a set of risk factors that includes obesity, insulin resistance, hypertension, and chronic inflammation, all of which increase the likelihood of developing serious heart problems. Have you noticed how fried foods often cause a heavy feeling in the stomach? This happens because the fats present in these foods are more difficult to digest, overloading the liver and metabolism. Over time, this can lead to an imbalance in the production of hormones that regulate appetite, favoring excessive calorie consumption and making it difficult to maintain a healthy weight. 10. Processed red meat. Processed red meat is not only rich in saturated fats, but also contains nitrites and nitrates, chemical substances used for preservation and color enhancement. The problem is that these compounds, when ingested in excess, can turn into carcinogenic substances in the body and increase the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Frequent consumption of processed meats is associated with an increase in bad cholesterol and accumulation of fat in the arteries, favoring the clogging of blood vessels. Additionally, these products are usually loaded with sodium, which contributes to increasing blood pressure and overloading the heart. Studies show that people regularly consume processed meats have a higher risk of developing heart diseases and even suffering premature death. But it's not just the sodium and bad fats that make these meats dangerous. The industrial process is used in the production of processed meats often involve the addition of preservatives and artificial flavorings that can inflame the body. And as we've already seen, chronic inflammation is one of the main risk factors for heart attacks and strokes. And what about bacon? Despite being delicious and popular in breakfasts and sandwiches, it is a bomb of saturated fat and sodium. In addition, when fried at high temperatures, it can produce toxic compounds that harm cell functioning and increase oxidative stress in the body. The result, increased risk of degenerative and heart diseases. If you want to protect your heart, the best alternative is to opt for more natural sources of protein, such as eggs, fish, and white meats. And you are getting closer to the moment of the revelation of what is the worst food for your heart. Not much longer. It will be revealed last. Number 9. Margarine and vegetable creams. If you switch from butter to margarine thinking you are doing a favor for your heart, you might be making a big mistake. For many years, margarine was sold as a healthier option because it contains less animal fat, but the truth is that many versions of this product are rich in trans fats. One of the worst types of fat for cardiovascular health. Trans fats are created during the process of hydrogenation, which turns liquid oils into solids to give consistency to margarine and increase its shelf life. This raises bad cholesterol, favoring the clogging of arteries and increasing the risk of heart attacks and strokes. Moreover, vegetable creams often contain refined oils, preservatives, and artificial additives that can generate inflammation in the body. Studies indicate that people who regularly consume trans fats have a higher risk of developing insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. Another problem with margarine is that when heated, it can produce toxic substances that harm cell function and accelerate the aging of the body. This means that when using it in food preparation, you may be consuming compounds that damage your cells and hinder the proper functioning of your heart. Number 8. Refined breads and pastas. If you can't resist a warm French bread at breakfast, or love a plate of pasta for dinner, it's time to learn about the impact of these foods on your cardiovascular health. Refined breads and pastas are made with white flour, which goes through a refinement process that removes its fibers and nutrients. The result, a high glycemic food that rapidly raises blood sugar and contributes to the accumulation of visceral fat. When we consume refined carbohydrates and excess, our body responds by producing more insulin to process the sugar in the blood. This continuous cycle can lead to insulin resistance, which is directly linked to metabolic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and obesity, two important risk factors for heart. Moreover, excess glucose can be transformed into triglycerides, a type of fat that favors the clogging of arteries. The big problem with refined breads and pastas is that they do not provide prolonged satiety. This means that shortly after eating a full plate of pasta or a few white breads, you may feel hungry again and end up consuming more calories than necessary. This behavior leads to weight gain and the accumulation of abdominal fat, which is directly related to the increase in blood pressure and cardiovascular risk. But it's not just traditional breads that pose risks. Many products labeled as whole actually contain only a small percentage of whole flour mixed with white flour and added sugars. This means that even when choosing apparently healthier versions, you may be consuming a product that still harms your heart. If you want to protect your health, the best alternative is to opt for quality carbohydrates such as 100% whole breads, brown rice, quinoa, and sweet potatoes. These foods are rich in fibers, which help regulate the absorption of sugar in the blood and promote satiety for a longer time. Not much longer until you discover the worst food for your heart. Don't go anywhere. 7. Industrialized sweets. If you're one of those people who can't resist a stuffed cookie, a slice of cake, or an ice cream after dinner, it's time to reconsider your habits. Industrialized sweets are one of the biggest enemies of the heart because they combine two extremely harmful substances, refined sugar and trans fats. This combination is fatal for the sugar present in industrialized sweets, causes spikes in blood glucose, forcing the pancreas to produce large amounts of insulin to stabilize the body. This process, when repeated, can lead to insulin resistance and the development of type 2 diabetes, a condition directly related to an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. Moreover, the excess sugar also increases the levels of triglycerides in the blood, which contributes to the accumulation of plaques in the arteries and hinders blood circulation. Another serious problem with industrialized sweets is that they contain a series of chemical additives such as colorants, preservatives, and artificial. These ingredients may seem harmless at first, but their frequent consumption can generate chronic inflammation and negatively impact the functioning of the liver and kidneys. In a long term, this accumulation of toxins can affect the body's ability to metabolize fats and sugars, further increasing the risk of cardiovascular complications. To protect your heart, the best strategy is to drastically reduce the consumption of industrialized sweets and seek healthier alternatives. Options such as dark chocolate with a high cocoa content, homemade sweets made with natural ingredients and dried fruits, can satisfy the desire to eat something sweet without compromising your health. The key is to opt for foods that offer nutrients instead of empty calories and harmful substances. Number 6. Fast food. If there is a type of food that brings together everything that is most harmful to the heart, that type is fast food. Amateurs, French fries, nuggets, and pizzas from fast food chains contain a lethal combination of saturated fats, trans fats, hidden sugar, and chemical additives. Despite the convenience and taste, these foods can cause irreversible damage to the cardiovascular system. The first major problem with fast food is the amount of saturated and trans fats. Most foods sold in these restaurants are fried in reused oils, which increases the presence of toxic and inflammatory substances in the body. These fats are responsible for raising bad cholesterol and hardening the arteries, which raises the risk of heart diseases and strokes. Moreover, the excess of saturated fat contributes to the accumulation of fat in the liver, hindering its detoxification function. Another worrying point is the amount of sodium present in fast food meals. To improve the flavor and increase the durability of the foods, these products contain high doses of salt and sodium-based preservatives. This excess can lead to fluid retention and increased blood pressure, putting extra strain on the heart. To make matters worse, many sauces and seasonings used in these restaurants also contain hidden sugars, making the meal even more harmful. Many people believe that only hamburgers and fries are problematic, but even the breads and sodas consumed with these meals aggravate the risks to the heart. The breads used in sandwiches are made with refined flours, which cause spikes in blood glucose and favor insulin resistance. Sodas rich in sugar or artificial sweeteners intensify inflammation in the body and increase the risk of metabolic diseases. If you want to protect your health, one of the best decisions you can make is to do so or eliminate the consumption of fast food. 5. Energy drinks. Many people turn energy drinks to stay awake and productive without imagining the negative impacts that these products can have on the heart. Highly stimulating, these drinks contain high amounts of caffeine, sugar, and other compounds that can accelerate heartbeats and increase blood pressure. The first major problem with energy drinks is the excessive amount of caffeine. Unlike a cup of coffee, which contains about 80 milligrams of caffeine, some energy drinks can have more than 300 milligrams per can. This high dose can cause tachycardia, palpitations, and even cardiac arrhythmias in sensitive individuals. For individuals predisposed to cardiovascular problems, this consumption can be fatal. Besides caffeine, these drinks are often rich in sugars or artificial sweeteners, which overload metabolism and increase inflammation levels in the body. The sugar present in these products causes spikes in blood glucose, increasing insulin resistance and favoring the development of metabolic diseases. Artificial sweeteners can interfere with the intestinal microbiota and liver function, further harming cardiovascular health. Another concerning factor is the combined effect of caffeine with other stimulants, such as taurine and guarana. These substances can potentiate the effects of caffeine and further increase the risk of cardiac overload. Studies show that frequent consumption of energy drinks is associated with increased blood pressure and a higher risk of serious cardiac events such as heart attacks and strokes. If you feel the need to consume energy drinks to maintain your energy throughout the day, a safer approach is to rely on natural sources of energy such as water, unsweetened teas, and nutrient-rich foods. Balanced consumption of complex carbohydrates and proteins can also help maintain energy levels without causing harm to the heart. Number 4. Sugary breakfast cereals. If you start your day with a bowl of colorful and crunchy breakfast cereals, you might be sabotaging your health without realizing it. Although many brands sell these products as healthy and nutritious options, the truth is that most breakfast cereals are loaded with sugar, refined flours, and chemical that can seriously harm heart health. One of the main problems with these cereals is their high glycemic index. This means that when you consume them, your body receives a large amount of simple carbohydrates that are quickly transformed into glucose, causing spikes in blood sugar. As we have discussed previously, this repetitive process can lead to insulin resistance and an increase in triglycerides, two important risk factors for cardiovascular diseases. Moreover, many brands add high fructose corn syrup and other artificial sweeteners to enhance the flavor of the cereals. These sugars not only increase the risk of obesity, but can also cause inflammation in the arteries, compromising circulation and increasing blood pressure. Continuous consumption of these products can accelerate the development of atherosclerosis, a condition in which fat plaques accumulate in the arteries and hinder blood flow to the heart. Another concerning factor is the presence of artificial colorants and preservatives in these cereals. Some of these substances have been linked to metabolic problems, chronic inflammation, and even negative impacts on brain function. Although these ingredients are approved for consumption, their constant use can have dangerous cumulative effects on the body. If you want to protect your heart and maintain a healthy diet, it is essential to avoid sugary breakfast cereals and replace them with more nutritious options. Whole oatmeal, homemade sugar-free granola, and whole grain cereals are much better alternatives as they offer fibers, proteins, and healthy fats that help regulate blood sugar and promote satiety throughout the day. Number 3. Whole milk and dairy products. Milk and its whole derivatives, such as yellow cheeses, butter, and cream, are frequently consumed in various diets around the world. Although they are sources of calcium and proteins, these products are also rich in saturated fats, which can increase the risk of cardiovascular diseases when consumed in excess. The big problem with the saturated fats present in whole dairy products is that they raise the levels of LDL cholesterol, also known as bad cholesterol. When this type of cholesterol is high in the body, it can accumulate in the arteries, forming plaques that hinder blood flow and increase the risk of heart attacks and strokes. Although some studies suggest that the impact of saturated fats on heart health may depend on other dietary factors, experts recommend moderation in the consumption of these products. Besides cholesterol, whole milk and its derivatives can contribute to weight gain, especially when consumed in excess. The high caloric content of these products combined with a sedentary lifestyle can lead to the accumulation of body fat and the development of metabolic syndrome, a condition characterized by obesity, hypertension, insulin resistance, and chronic inflammation. All these factors significantly increase the risk of heart problems. Another important point is that many industrialized dairy products contain hormones and antibiotics used in cattle breeding. These compounds can interfere with the hormonal balance of the body and affect long-term health. Some research suggests that excessive consumption of dairy products may be associated with an increased risk of inflammation in the body, which, as we have seen, is one of the main factors for the development of cardiovascular diseases. If you want to protect your heart health, the best option is to opt for skimmed or lactose-free versions of milk and its derivatives. Another alternative is to replace part of the dairy consumption with plant-based sources rich in calcium, such as almond milk, oat milk, and tofu. These options can offer similar benefits without the risks associated with the saturated fats present in whole products. Number 2. Ready-made sauces. If you are a fan of ketchup, mayonnaise, barbecue sauce, or other industrialized condiments, it's time to pay attention to the labels of these products. Although they are used to enhance the flavor of dishes, ready-made sauces hide large amounts of sugar, sodium, and bad fats that can harm heart health. One of the main problems with industrialized sauces is their high sugar content. Many people do not realize it, but a tablespoon of ketchup can contain up to 4 g of sugar, the equivalent of a cube of refined sugar. This added sugar contributes to blood glucose spikes, favoring weight gain, increasing triglycerides, which can obstruct arteries and raise the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Besides sugar, ready-made sauces contain large amounts of sodium. Excess sodium in the diet can lead to fluid retention and increase blood pressure, putting extra strain on the heart. Studies indicate that people who consume high levels of sodium daily have a higher risk of developing hypertension, one of the main factors for heart attacks and strokes. Another problematic ingredient present in these sauces is high fructose corn syrup, an industrialized sweetener that contributes to the accumulation of visceral fat and inflammation in the body. This type of sugar is metabolized in the liver and, when consumed in excess, can lead to the development of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a factor that is also linked to an increased risk of heart diseases. Besides the negative impacts on the heart, many sauces contain artificial preservatives, colorants, and flavor enhancers, such as monosodium glutamate. These substances can interfere with metabolism and contribute to silent inflammation in the body, which affect the proper functioning of the cardiovascular system. The best way to avoid the damage caused by industrialized sauces is to opt for homemade versions, making your own tomato sauce, mayonnaise, or barbecue sauce. Using natural ingredients allows you to reduce the amount of sugar, sodium, and bad fats, making your meals healthier. Another option is to choose sauce versions with clean labels, which contain fewer additives and artificial ingredients. Now let's move on to the food that has captivated people's taste buds and gained the status of irresistible. That food is bacon. President breakfast, hamburgers, pizzas, and sophisticated dishes. Bacon is one of the most consumed processed meats in the world. But behind its distinctive flavor and crunchiness lies a real danger to the heart. Like other processed meats, sausages, ham, mortadella, and salamis, bacon contains high amounts of saturated fats, sodium, and chemical preservatives, forming an extremely harmful combination for cardiovascular health. The first major problem with bacon processed meats is the excess of saturated fat, which raises the levels of bad cholesterol and, as you already know, favors the formation of plaques in arteries. This accumulation can lead to atherosclerosis, a condition in which the arteries harden and narrow, hindering blood flow and dramatically increasing the risk of heart attacks and strokes. Moreover, these foods are highly caloric, which can contribute to weight gain and the development of metabolic syndrome, a condition directly linked to heart diseases. Another alarming factor in processed meats is the presence of nitrites and nitrates, chemical substances used to preserve the color and flavor of these processed meats. When subjected to the heat of frying or baking, these compounds can turn into nitrosamines, which are highly inflammatory and potentially carcinogenic. Moreover, these substances increase inflammation in the body, a factor directly associated with cardiovascular risk, and we must not forget sodium. Bacon and processed meats are loaded with salt to enhance the flavor and extend the shelf life of the products. Excessive sodium consumption leads to increased blood pressure, one of the biggest risk factors for heart attacks and strokes. Studies show that people who regularly consume processed meats have a significantly higher risk of developing hypertension and cardiovascular diseases than those who avoid these foods. To protect your health, the best strategy is to reduce or eliminate the consumption of bacon and processed meats from your diet. Instead of processed meats, opt for healthier protein sources such as eggs, fish, and grilled chicken. If you do not want to give up the smoky flavor, you can prepare homemade versions of seasoned meats with natural spices and slow-baked. Small changes can have a huge impact on your health and longevity. And if you want to continue receiving the best videos for your health, subscribe to the channel because it exists for one reason: to make you a healthier person with a better quality of life. Helping you is my mission. In the video that now appears on your screen, I reveal the worst fruit that can cause a stroke. Click on the screen and check it out. So, see you in the next video.